Alright, we're back. I think I'm gonna make these two videos separate, but yeah, I think I'm gonna make them separate. Last up on Wix, yeah, sorry, hold on. Welcome back to What If Civilization Started Over? And we're here in South Asia with the war that was happening last episode, or this episode. I don't know if I'm gonna fuse them together. I think they're gonna be separate. I don't really edit my videos because haven't figured out how. I'll get there. We'll be there one day. But for now, scuffed quality is how we do it. But anyways, back to the mapping. Last on Dragon Ball Z. No, last on Wixo, Myanmar declared war on Sumatra to invade Sri Lanka. Java hopped on in, which pissed off Borneo because they were threatening Indonesian stability, so they declared war. They started pumping troops into Sumatra. Sumatra kicked out the Javanese almost, except for the city in the south. And then both Indian countries declared war on Burma Siam, which prompted them to remove everything from Sumatra to focus on the front up here. I believe it was that, yeah, China joined the war to attack Filipino Borneo to take their chunk of China, and then they also rolled through and invaded Japan's claim, not reaching Taiwan but invading the mainland, which is putting them in a giant naval battle with Japan. And now they're finally starting to make a few landings on the North Island just past Sakhalin. And then over here, Burma Siam's getting their behind caved in by both Indian countries. However, at the end of last episode, we saw the second strongest country in the world, the Old Empire, and their best buddy, not quite minion, because they're capable on their own, but like best buddy. This will be like the U.S. and Canada, right? Canada's not like a puppet of the U.S. or anything, but like comparatively, the U.S. is much stronger. But Canada can hold their own. They're tough. So that's kind of what this is like, except desert and mountain. But they both declared war on the Indian country, which is going to cause some reprieve for Myanmar in the east, while India attempts to counteract what's going on here. So let's demonstrate that now. The blue team will begin pushing back against the invading Old Empyrean forces. They will kind of push up here, reach the coastline surrounding this city. I think this was their city. And they're going to kind of surround these two, but for most, the front line stagnates there. A little more progress will be made by the not the wrong color, the green team over here, particularly along the border of the blue Indian country. They'll move in a little bit, actually maybe a little more than a little bit. They're making some moves, you know. It's all good. But this diversion will allow for some, like I said, reprieve for Burma Siam, who's going to then start pushing forces back into the Bengali area after that major victory. Particularly the gray team's going to lose big time all across the entire frontier, but mostly down here in Bengali, where they completely lose access to the coast and they just kind of push on through. They push up, capture this major city, big rural sweep all through this area. It's all coming back to Burma Siam. They kind of threaten this city here, but their focus is now southward towards the blue Indian country, where they just completely mop the floor with them over here. They kind of push in a little bit, and now they're threatening kind of 3 major cities all at once along this entire front line. So definitely a big turnaround for them. They don't have all their territory back, I don't think, but they're coming back. You know, it's a bit of a comeback. Now, down here in Sumatra, Borneo isn't directly sending troops down and like trying to fight Java. They aren't throwing hands quite like that. It's a little more indirect. They're putting troops into Sumatra to fight them off. Except up here, where they lost their claim in China and they're pissed and they have like boats helping the Japanese military. But again, Borneo isn't very directly involved. They're kind of just giving naval aid to Japan and military, like, boots on the ground aid to Sumatra. Now, when I say, like, I feel like some of the terminology might get you confused on the time period this is taking place. This is still, like, 1700s maybe. Like, this is pre-Napoleon, like, time era adjusted to our own. So, like, these guys probably have, like, rudimentary, like, very rudimentary gun technology, and their boats are definitely, like, they're not so great, but comparatively, you know. So anyways, Sumatra is going to finally be able to kick Java completely out of their island. They will siege this major city. Siege is the wrong word. They retake their major city. And from here, Java doesn't really want to beef with them. They're kind of just fine not fighting Sumatra at all. So they kind of just dip from the war completely. Java's like, look, we're good. We might pay a little bit of reparations, but frankly, we don't want to catch any hands. We're sorry. We're sorry, Sumatra. So everyone dips out of, or Java dips out of that. So now Sumatra's still in the war with Burma, Siam, but they're not really. This isn't an active front line, which means Borneo's troops aren't really being sent down here right now. They're all funneling straight up into Japan to kind of match this behemoth top 5 country. I think I ranked it as 4th. It's 4th as of now, but it's growing fast. Also, the Cambodia invasion of Vietnam. No one really cares. Like they care like a little bit. It's like, whoa, that's a big invasion on our border, but no one's really intervening at all, and it just kind of happened, and everyone's like, okay, well, we don't care. So despite the fact that they kind of entered the war, Cambodia did this kind of on their own side and their own accord. So China and Burma will not be launching any invasions into Cambodia. They're free to kind of just chill. Okay, so the real meat of the war is going to take place over here towards the Indian subcontinent. But first, we're going to have a little bit of a war interlude to check back up on the New World and the expansion of the colonial powers over here, such as Estonia. We'll start with them. They're kind of, now that they've realized some of this land up in the central areas, frigid Arctic cold, like, they still want land over here, but their main focus is over here towards the coast of the Hudson Bay. So they're going to kind of move this way, take control of as much of it as they can, and then move adequately inward, taking control of a little more land too. In addition, their overseas adventures, they'll take control of this island, land on this one, and then make a little more of a move into this one, securing a little more coast. But this island is so cold, so they're not really loving it. Actually, you know what? They're going to take a little more of this island. They're going to secure all this. I know Canada's hella cold up here. Can you even, like, live on this island? I don't really know. I know, like, everything up here is basically unsurvivable. I don't know about North Quebec. I think you can kind of survive up here, but I think the line's, like, I don't know the line. Estonia is used to the cold. They control North Russia, so they're the veterans of the frigid cold, so why not? Anyways, Rome is going to do a little more expanding too, expanding along this river, meeting up with some of the more, I would say, developed areas by the Prussians, the Danish Prussians. They're doing pretty good. But yeah, Rome will continue their expansion into the central areas of Quebec, taking a huge chunk of land. And their colony is probably the largest size-wise, but, you know, sizes and everything. Anyways, Danish Prussia will continue moving into what is currently New York. They will move up into this area and then kind of spread out into the more central areas. Eventually they'll reach down here, and they will discover and occupy Delmarva and then move around this area, and they kind of stop right around here. So they have a pretty big colony going. This is probably the most powerful of maybe the second most powerful. I don't know if theirs is weaker than Rome's or not. This is about 50-50. As for the French, they're gonna do a little more expanding along the Gulf Coast, as well as make some moves inland. You know, gotta expand inland. They're going to kind of move a little bit more towards the Gulf this time. And it's pretty good. You know, they won't completely ignore the Carolinas, though. They've got aspirations everywhere. They're going everywhere and anywhere. So that's pretty cool. Meanwhile, down here, the green team's kind of just chilling there. I don't know what they're going to do next, but maybe they could, like, jump across to Yucatan, but not right now. Old Empire, though, they will continue making moves in South America, particularly along the Brazilian coast. They will continue moving this way, kind of occupying all of this, reaching all the way down here. They attempt to make some moves inland, but this is pretty costly for them. They'll meet up with this Spartan one, which is not doing well. I think I mentioned that before, but it's tough over here. This is a struggling colony that if Sparta doesn't do something soon, they might lose control of it entirely. I'm gonna freeze on the colonial expansion of some of the countries that are involved in war in East Asia, except for Cambodia. Their colony will continue to move. They'll do a little more work into moving into the mountains, but this is kind of tough and costly. Most of their efforts are involving kind of moving down the coast where you can actually live, and in those regards they do a pretty good job. So solid. Cambodia's Mexican, South Mexican colony is doing pretty good. Now back to the war in South Asia. Anyways, India is now fighting on two fronts, which is never splendid. You never want to fight on both fronts. Most of their effort, though, is being put towards the west in fighting the Old Empire because they're a more dangerous threat. They're going to kind of push up with the assistance of their friend, the Grey North India country. They're going to completely blitz up north, meeting the border of the Green team, which they are not friendly with, so they will kind of plow through here. And they will surround these two cities, cut them off from each other, and then just kind of completely take them over. And then they push the front line. They near these two cities in South Persia, which does make them quite nervous. So they're going to have to figure out what to do about that. Meanwhile, Blue team and Gray team forces will begin striking into the Green team. And they'll do so pretty rapidly. The Green team is hit with a freaking brick wall of troops. They cannot get past it. They blitz pretty far into their country, which makes them very unhappy. But what are they gonna do? What can they do? Over here in Burma, they're gonna continue their advance into Blue India. They're gonna move around here, kind of focus troops in the rural areas while these places kind of try to shore up the cities. Their endeavors down here in the south will work very well, as they'll be able to take 3 cities and threaten these 2 now. And this city, however, will fight back a little bit. It'll push back in some of these more rural areas, and over here they'll kind of get a little more breathing room, which is pretty, it's good. It's a win. Meanwhile, up over in China, they're still dueling Japan pretty intensely. With more help from Borneo, Japan's able to allocate more resources towards fighting off the North Chinese. So North China will try to connect up these 2 groups, getting a decent foothold. And then comes the tidal wave of Japanese forces that just come blitzing up from here and completely kick them off the west side of the peninsula. China will try to move China will try to move towards this major city over here, and they'll come very close to capturing it, like entering the city. However, Japan then just right out the peninsula. They're off the island now. So while China's trying to reevaluate, Japan's going on the offensive here. They capture this island, they hop over to this island, and then they hop over to this island. They kind of stop right here, but, you know, big win over here. And now their focus is to see if they can land a squadron on the island of Sakhalin to see if they can pull that off, because the navies are pretty stagnant right now. They were thinking about Korea, but Korea's not going to work. I think they have this strategic island. Yeah. They also have this, but whoa. They have this island here. It's not colored in, but they have both of those, so do with that information what you will. Color in all these islands. So they have all that, but yeah, this front is pretty, I guess I'd say, stalemated. There's not much either side can do right now. Japan's currently thinking about invading some of these islands over here, but even then, that's not like mainland China. That's not gonna. That probably won't completely turn the tide of the war. It'll just change where the struggle is being fought. Anyways, Burma's front in East India is going. It was going kind of slow, but then it kind of ramps up really fast. They go up from the south, capture this city, so North India's beautiful delay of advances didn't last long at all. They just crusade through this more rural area, kind of a Uno reverse card from what North India did in the last time. They completely blitz through, targeting major cities. They capture this one down here. Oh, can you see that? There we go. They capture it down here, and they kind of push into this area. From here comes the I don't even know what I'm saying no more. They're going into Blue India. They're marching in with intention, and they completely captured 3 cities very quickly, threatening a 4th, but their focus is more in these rural areas. That is what they'll take, and they will take it with ease. India is not doing so good right now. They're distracted over here trying to fight the old empire, and the green team, their focus isn't necessarily in India right now. Their forces aren't as balanced. They're fighting up here. They will capture more of this rural area in Iran, eventually being able to, instead of just encircling them, the old empire just evacuates everyone from as much people as they can from these 2 cities across here, send them back into the Arabian Peninsula, as India completely captures all of this and continues their push in, as well as the Grey Indian country pushing further into what was once, I think, the Afghanistan country, although this might just be core green team country. Regardless, they're pushing and they're kind of forming a spearhead to try and get to this major city, and the same will kind of happen for the blue team, as they don't really have to do much of a spearhead. It's kind of just a front. But regardless, both of these major cities will fall into the hands of their respective Indian countries, and from here, the countries in the Arabias are kind of like nervous. They're like, dude, why isn't this working? Why is India just slapping us around? And it's kind of because they expected them to allocate more resources over here to fighting Burma Siam. But Burma Siam, they're getting a lot of territory, but I don't know, they're not moving as fast as the Indian countries are into Mesopotamia. Not into Mesopotamia, into like Iran, Middle East. So now a lot of countries are going to start thinking about peace deals. China and Japan are considering it, but Japan is being very stubborn and doesn't really want a peace deal. Partially because they've been preparing for a landing, and we will see that orchestrated right now. Japan will leap across the ocean. No kidding. They'll send forces across the ocean, and they will make a landing in the south part of the Sakhalin Island. In addition, they will make a move up here, capture these islands. I'm not really coloring them in like that, but they take them, as well as reaching far up here and capturing those islands, leading up to the Kamchatka Peninsula. Kamchatka? Something like that. However, this front isn't really going anywhere. Eventually, China will just sit down with Japan and be like, look, war bad, we're just trying to ball. Let's come to an agreement. And this agreement looks something like this. Japan will leave these islands up here alone. They'll still have these islands down here, these 4 islands. Japan gets those. but China continues to have the islands up here near Kamchatka. In addition, Japan will get a little bit of the Sakhalin Island, not as much as they have in the war, something like that. And then China's like, all right, can we just chill out for a little bit? And Japan's reluctantly like, all right, fine. You know what? We could peace out for a little bit. Also, I don't know why there's so much pixel mess on the coast of China. One day I'll fix this. I don't know what causes it. Like, how do I fix this even? It's always just such a mess. Like on every border. Let's go to. Actually, I've already done a lot of the areas in like India and Mesopotamia. I kind of fixed it in like Rome, but yeah. So now the war is pretty much centrally focused on these two countries. Also, since we're seeing peace, Borneo isn't really they're still kind of like keeping an eye on Sumatra because they're technically still in the war. But actually Sumatra has no reason to even be in the war. So we'll have Burma Siam signing a very temporary peace deal with Burma Siam. No, they can't sign a peace deal with themselves. They sign a peace deal with Sumatra and Borneo, and they're just like, all right, our focus is on India and Old Empire right now. So we basically only have 5 countries left in this war. Everything else has been settled. So it's Old Empire, Green Team, Burma Siam versus the 2 Indian countries. And the 2 Indian countries are it's very weird. All their forces are going this way, which is kind of an intimidation strategy. And although these guys are doing good, I don't know, can they even hold on to all this territory? Unsure. I don't really know where to go from here though, but I think the Green Team would be trying to peace out, and I think the Old Empire might even be interested in peacing out at this point because they don't want this to escalate into a larger conflict. So I think we're going to see a little more advance from like Burma, but a peace deal will be reached. So we'll have the Burma Siamese capturing this major city, kind of pushing a little more into rural areas. They'll capture these 2 major cities along the coast. Over here in the west, India's forces will push a little deeper into Iran, into Persia. And this area is kind of mountainous, so it's hard for them to move, but they're also India, so if anyone would know about mountains, it'd be like them and Tibet. So they'll push in pretty deep, and then they'll just leave. They'll dip out. They're like, all right, cool, we can do peace. This peace treaty will involve the creation of a new country entirely. A country that will cause divide in the region here. Let's what's a color I can make this? Sure, we'll go with this. I'm gonna turn the brush down. So starting over here in this region, we're going to see the creation of a new country. Okay, I should have turned down the brush. It's kind of tearing up the borders. So. Gosh, I should really learn how to edit. It would be nice if I could just edit this and then it would be like, voila, and it appears on the screen. That would be nice. But you know what? This'll do. So we're gonna have an Iranian country forming because India doesn't want to hold on to all this land. So this country will look something like. Okay, how much territory is India going to occupy versus give over? I think they would give over these 2 cities right here, as well as maybe you know what? We're gonna do this. We're gonna do a little something like. There we go. I think I like that. Let's see. No, that's not what I want to do. Where are the pixels not made at? Okay, hopefully this works now. No. Okay. I don't know why this isn't working. And it's making me throw a fit. Alright. Maybe I just need to draw the pixels in better. And then it'll look good. God, why does it keep doing that? Is it because it's on global? There we go. Okay. That's why. It was on global the whole time. I don't know how to use the website that I make videos on, but that's okay. Maybe. I don't know. We're going to see this Iranian country forming. Their capital will be... I'm going to turn the brush size up to 5. I'm going to do something like this. Right around there. And then I'm going to put a new city. Right where the old one was, that's the capital. I need to update the capitals for some of the countries. I don't think they have them, but... yeah. So we have this Iranian country forming, and that's all fine and dandy. We will see... Actually, I feel like they didn't get enough land out of that. They look a little weird. You know what? We'll do something like this. Where... I'll give them, like, up here. Because I don't think these two cities were part of the old empire. Right? I think they're a part of India. You know, I think they were kind of like on the border. So we'll do something like this. There we go. I kind of like that. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Iran. Actually, I don't like that. Borders are difficult. There we go. That's all. That's all good. Maybe we see the green team also release some land to this guy. Yeah, I can see that. There we go. There we go. Okay. The Iranian country exists. All good in the hood. As for the green team, they're going to lose a little more rural area to India to appease them. We'll give them like a little more land over here and land like that. As for the gray Indian country, they're actually not going to hold on to this city. They have problems, so they're not going to... Well, not problems. It's something you're about to see in a second. So they'll actually release, like, a decent bit. India got that city, and a little more. And in exchange, all this is going to be returning to the green team. It's quite nice. Sort of. Actually, maybe India gets a little more. It's all about the borders. The story? Who cares? It's all about the borders. So that, I'll give them like that nugget. Over here, the Burma-Siamese area, I think they come to some kind of agreement where India will get some of the land back, especially around here, these two cities. They'll recover these two. We'll see them draw up a border that looks something like... There we go. Like that. Bullseye. So, we'll get back some of the land that the Burma-Siamese took. But for the most part, Burma-Siam got a lot of this war. They didn't get Sri Lanka, though. Which is what they started the war over, so maybe they would. But I mean, they got more... Did they lose or gain land? I don't know what their initial border looked like, because India did hit them pretty hard at the beginning, so I don't actually know if they gained or lost land. You know what, screw it, we're giving the Sri Lanka. That was what they started it over, so I imagine that would be like a big talking point in the peace deal. So we're gonna have them get Sri Lanka. Not much more though, but they get Sri Lanka. As for the gray team's border with the Burma Siamese, the gray team is actually going to acquiesce. I don't think that's the right word. They're going to release a little bit of land to Burma Siam, kind of just to be like, hopefully this will satiate you. Please stop mollywopping us. We don't like it. And Burma Siam will be like, okay, we're totally not going to invade you. And now, finally, the thing I was referencing earlier, but the gray and blue Indian countries have had similar objectives. It only makes sense that they unite into Big Blue India. This was the initial country here, and now they fully united into India. However, territories in the north part of the Indian province aren't so happy about this. They're like, we want to be part of Tibet. So India will be like, well, we could try to force them into submission, but you know what? That'll cost a lot of resources, and we just got out of a war. We don't really want to deal with these hooligans. So we'll release the most boisterous and noisy provinces over to Tibet. Maybe they get a little money out of it. Maybe Tibet gives them something. I don't know what they give them. But however, all this land will become part of the Tibetan country. If I could color in all the pixels. So, we have a new border. Tibet's pretty big, but they're also just a mountain. So we have the new borders. Now let's go to the layer 2. I don't know if I've shown this yet. I did change the ideology maps, but I show this because we're going to see a couple of changes now that the war's over. So first off, over here, North Vietnam. Whoa, I think I'm undoing stuff. Okay, we're not erasing. I meant to click on this layer. We're going to be seeing the wipe out of that square because they done got invaded. We will have to put a new square down. I just realized this country still exists. I forgot about these guys. Hold up. Let's give them a square. How do I do that? Rectangle. Rectangle? That's not what we want. We want that, and then what's the diameter of these squares? I don't know, probably like 10. Nope, that's not what I wanted. I was looking for the square. It's something like that. So yeah, we'll do that, and then we will fill the square in with red, because they are also a monarchy. So that's cool. Another one. However, up here in Asia, oh yeah, I just realized these guys don't exist. But you know what, that ties into what I'm about to talk about next. Also, what is that? Remnants of one of the previous triangles. We will erase this. These guys have united with India, but partially because the ideology is changing. Red is monarchy. Also, what is... Oh no, just... I thought that this one didn't have a border. It's just the border is very similar color-wise to the rest of this, so I couldn't see it. But these guys will be adopting a new ideology. This ideology will not be a monarchy anymore, because they will be going and becoming a oligarchy, which, you know, tomato, but whatever. Still the same thing. So they're more similar to Austria-Hungary, where they have a North India and South India both being there, both governing certain parts of India. Hold up. Gotta hit that stretch. Any other ideology changes I want to put into the story? You know what? Yes, there are. Sumatra, after being very heavily influenced by these guys, will go and pull a 180 ideologically and become a democracy. Sumatran democracy. I think, yeah, so there are only 4 democratic countries, Scotland being one, this country in West Africa being one, the Philippine country, Filipino Borneo, and Sumatra. So it's starting to spread. You know, it's getting some traction. Also, I forgot about this country up here, the Iranian country. I'm gonna make them an oligarchy too. I think India's new. Oh, that's not gonna work. I think India's influence is being spread on them, and maybe they have a thing where it's like, we need an old Imperial representative here, and then a Indian representative here. So they will be becoming an oligarchy. So we're seeing monarchy starting to change a little bit. It's still in, like, the whole world's freaking monarchies, but we're seeing new things happen. But anyways, that's going to be the end of this episode. So if you liked the video, please press the like button. It will make me so happy. And yeah, peace. Goodbye.